Good afternoon and welcome to the Love Center. Thank you everyone for joining us here on this important day. This is National Gun Violence Awareness Day, so we've assembled experts in the community, young people in the community, to talk about guns and violence and how they affect our community. For all of us that knows, we have drive-by shootings almost every night in our community. The young people in here have been affected by gun violence, injured in shootings, multiple shootings, and sometimes multiple times. It's a really important conversation that we need to have, and I'm glad we have some people that don't necessarily look like us from our community, because guns affect those communities also. There are mass shootings in many communities. There are drive-by shootings in our communities, but the common denominator is there are guns that are had by people that should not have them, that are not trained for that, and that don't have the proper mindset to handle a weapon. So today we're going to have an open and honest discussion with these groups of people. I'm going to introduce a really important, real special young person to me, a young activist who does all kinds of different things in the community, even though his MBA knowledge is crap. We're going to go ahead and get to him. So please welcome Elijah Wright, and he's going to get this conversation going. Young activist with UDIA here. Make sure I get that in there before I get hooked off stage. So thanks for being here, everybody. This is a conversation that is definitely needed in this community and in other communities, because it's time for us to do something. Let's change the target and take the target off people that look like us or people, period. Let's put guns where they need to be and get things done right.
For sure. Appreciate you, Mr. McBride, Jason. And I would also like to introduce to the stage somebody who's a SED safety and firearm instructor. Introduce yourself, my brother.
Yeah, like they said, my name is Sid. I actually own the company, Sid Safety and Firearm Training, so I do a lot of actual gun safety classes. So I teach the proper way of how to use guns and, what to expect with them, and educating, really. That's my biggest thing, just educating folks about it. So.
Okay. So for sure. So I got a few questions, but I definitely want to give it to the audience first. Anybody got any questions due to safety or firearm that you would like to ask an expert? Because we understand that gun violence is a big issue within many communities. So what's the first question we got? You want to go?
Yeah, sure, I'll go. My name is Del. How do you, is there any, feelings of, embarrassment or, disappointment when you look at, gun violence, right? Whether it be, public shootings or, drive-by shootings. How does that make you feel, personally?
Personally, I grew up in this community, actually. I grew up in Montbello, and I've actually witnessed, I've been involved in it, and I've seen it firsthand, bullets flying right by my face. So, personally, how I feel about it is the education, and it's, how can I say it, going to the streets for the education and thinking that that's the right way to do it. And that's not the right way to do it, because guns, those are violent. Guns is dangerous. And those type of accidents, those ain't accidents that we want. Accidents that we want is we spilled milk on the carpet, or, we dropped our food. Gun accidents, we don't want them. And that's how, me personally, I hate the fact that a lot of people turn to the streets for it, or they're big homies for it, and they get that wrong education about it.
Okay, word. Want to ask anything else on that?
Yeah. So in regards to, people being, prideful to have, guns, to have access to, firearms, where does that thought process from, your point of view, typically, originate from? And, why do people necessarily, feel that way about their guns?
Like you just said, it's a pride thing. A lot of people, and first thing when people take my class, the very first thing that I actually get out is check your ego at the door. Because it takes a special maturity to actually be around firearms, to know, every situation doesn't need a reaction. And my biggest thing is check that ego and that pride, because that ego and pride can get way out of hand. And then once it gets out of hand, it's out of everybody's control at that point.
Definitely. You want to pass that around? So what we're doing right now is we're asking different people in the community to educate them towards the use of guns and how we should act and how people react or how they usually act. You got something, brother?
Yeah. So how do you feel about like the younger youth? How do you feel about them? How the way they're buying guns out here on the streets now?
I think it's crazy that you said, because I mean it's a crazy black market for it, but I actually target youth. Me and my son, I've been training him since, and I say training because it is training. It's education and it's training behind it. I got to him when he was about 5 years old. And then we started going over safety things. Now he is about to be 14 years old, and he doesn't play with guns. It's not something that this is not a toy. So I like to actually get to the youth before everybody else get to them, just to, let them know, hey, if you're responsible with a gun, I mean, by all means, it's our Second Amendment. We have the right to protect ourselves, but do it responsible. And like I said, I start with the training and education part of it. And once I get to the training and education, half the time people will tell me, I don't even want to buy a gun now that you done showed me everything, taught me everything, and that's what I actually target. It's more to it than just carrying a gun.
So how do I got another one. So how do you feel about like the guns that are being used today to like just not just our youth, but just like really anybody that really doesn't really have one? How do you feel about them people that is getting gunned down?
Getting gunned down, you said? Well, that's one thing that I teach in my class. I do a personal and home defense class, and it's really based around situational awareness. And I always tell people, don't look like a victim. And what I mean by that is, it ain't saying that, hey, I'm the baddest in the town or I got guns on. No, don't look like a victim. Be smart about things. Being able to use peripheral visions, knowing your blind spots. So, I mean, if you're prepared, you have a better chance of avoiding situations like that. And there's things that, and I tell people, trust your gut instinct. Your gut is going to be telling you something for a reason. And then just trust it, especially with those that don't have guns. You need to be able to be one step ahead. That way, if something does jump off, you're able to get out of that situation in a timely manner at that. Because in this world, seconds matter. I mean, seconds matter.
Seconds matter, that's real. Anybody else got any questions as well? Because these are really important questions to ask, because you're not going to always get this opportunity every day to talk to an expert and somebody who's been in the community at our age, and to be able to speak with somebody who's actually experienced, gun violence. I do got a question, though, before we ask the next one. Have you ever seen or experienced gun violence to any close family, relatives, or friends, or if you have, did it traumatize you? Let's go into a little bit of that if you don't mind me asking.
No, definitely. I mean, to say it doesn't traumatize you, that'd be dumb to say. I've witnessed it. I've seen it. One of my best friends, Carol Peoples, right here in Montbello at Falcon Park. You know what I'm saying? I've seen it. XO at Falcon Park, not Carol at Falcon Park, but XO at Falcon Park as well. So I've seen it, and there's these 4 injuries that I always tell a lot of my students, and one of them is morally. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be something that you see. The littlest thing can trigger it. The smell of gunpowder, like, it takes you back to that state. So it definitely traumatizes a lot of folks, but it's about what you do with that trauma. You can let it eat you up, or you can actually use it as motivation, and that's what I did. I use it as motivation because I want to stop it from happening, and that way I can educate the younger crowd. Like, the lifestyle that we grew up in, man, I was talking to one of my friends, I was like, bro, that was dumb. It was just completely dumb. So, and that's why I could say use it to your motivation at that point.
Beautiful, beautiful. Word. You got something, my brother?
All I was trying to ask is, is it good to carry without a license still?
No. I would definitely say no, because Colorado's an open carry state, but Denver is not open carry. And the reason why I say that is because you don't want the attention drawn to you. It's one thing to have it on you, but to actually be seen, everybody's going to be looking at you at that point. But not only that, it's so tricky here. You can be on one side of the street and be in a roar, cross the street to say a ball ran out in the street, you're going to get it for your little ones, and now you're in Denver. And now we're talking about misdemeanor charges for the first time. And the second time, we're talking felonies charges at that point. So yeah, it was an open carry, but I would definitely recommend take the proper training and get that permit.
Can you tell us good things about having a gun license?
Honestly, the best thing about having a gun license is making you think a little bit more than what you actually been thinking. Because there's situations where if I didn't have this gun, yeah, I might react to it. For instance, being out and about and someone get a little upset with me, or, you know what I'm saying, some pushing going on, if I don't have a good, that might have made me react to that situation versus me carrying, it makes me be that much more responsible. Like, nah, bro, it's not worth it at this point.
That's a beautiful thing. And actually, speaking on reactional points, so there's this old saying out here. Tell me if any of the older crowd can agree upon this. They said back in the day, brothers used to fight it out and kind of just, you know what I'm saying, was chopped done. Nowadays, that doesn't really happen as much. It's more people are just coming straight with the triggers. If that's true or not, what would you say is making people react more with modern gun violence as opposed to back in, you know, the 90s or the 80s, on why people were fighting and, you know, scrapping it that way, but now it's leading to death?
Honestly, my biggest thing with that, I would say, is respect. Back then, there was a lot of respect for a lot of people, and that was the name of the game. We had the differences, we handled that differences, but at the end of the day, we respect him as a man because he addressed it. So there may have been a little fist fighting going on, but at the end of the day, after that fist fight, we were probably playing basketball again at the same day. Versus now, that ego and that pride is too big for people. People egos get broken and get hurt, and I blame a lot of it on social media because back then we didn't have social media to where someone can really get embarrassed. Like you can get embarrassed now. Your views go up to 100,000 views of you getting knocked out. Now your pride is like a broken glass at that point. It is shattered. So at that point, the only thing I can do to redeem myself is, oh, I got a gun. Let me go out here and show them that I'm hard. Again, I blame that on the respect and that social media, because back then we had a lot of respect. Whether I like you or not, I still had respect for you as a man. So.
Okay. Who's up next?
What would you say would be your top few gun accidents, and why have you found out that they happened?
My number one that I've always hear, actually there's a couple of them. Kids, the parent being just, negligent with the gun, leaving it out, you know what I'm saying, not locking it up when they know it should be locked up, especially if you got kids in the house. The next one would probably be just, playing around with it. Just a lot of people like to play with their guns, and I'm like, this is not a toy. It's not nothing to be played with. If you're at a gun range, yeah, come out and have some fun with it. But if you're at home, there's no need for you to be playing with your guns at all.
Word. And to turkey back off of that, talking about playing with guns, who actually has been a victim to gun violence here, if y'all don't mind raising your hand? Okay, y'all all been victims of gun violence? Y'all don't got to go into the detail because I'm sure that's, a situation that don't necessarily need to be talk about completely. But I do got a question on that. How could it been potentially avoided, if y'all don't mind speaking on that? Oh, you got a thing in your hand.
Maybe if I learned a little bit more about guns before I start trying to know where to stay safe. Yeah, maybe I have to type of medication.
So you're saying being more educated on guns would have potentially saved you from that incident? Word. Okay, definitely. Anything else on that, or are you good? Okay. I'm sorry.
Hanging with the wrong crowd.
That's big.
What you mean by that, if you don't mind me asking how that, you could have avoided that?
You got good and bad. Do you want to go to bad? You got a choice. So it's like, if somebody tell you what to do, are you going to do it, or are you going to start thinking your own thoughts and go home? Such and such. And just hang around with the back in the crowd. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's going to...
Basically, if you don't mind me, maybe explaining it, like avoiding, the peer pressure of being around the wrong crowd. If you, stop, you know, to not do that, listen to that little conscience that you got and avoided that, you would have potentially, you know, avoided that incident. Is that what you pretty much saying? Word. Understood.
Who else raised their hand? Yes,
I mean, a little bit too quickly to get angry and snap off on people.
So emotions.
So pretty much beefing with the wrong people that I didn't know, that I don't know very well.
So you might have been dealing with too much you could handle.
Yeah.
Okay. And that set it off to where you was in a situation where you did not need to be in.
Yeah.
Okay, understood. So, do you think that was like emotionally best?
I mean, if I wasn't doing the things I was doing, then, I mean, it would have turned out a whole lot differently.
Word, definitely. Y'all want to add up anything else on that?
So please talk into the lights too.
Well, I know one thing just growing up in the neighborhood, once you feel that first gun, you feel that power, you know, like when I was younger, it gave me a sense of power when over somebody. So even when on the other end of somebody having a gun, that feeling of that is empowerment to some of these kids that they may not have. And when they go to school or they get bullied or picked on or something, that empowerment comes in there, and that's a whole nother ball game.
It is. That's part of that pride.
Yeah.
It's part of that. Because I know, like, again, you got to go into the situation knowing that, hey, I know the consequences of my action. I know what I'm capable of. That person doesn't. So you have to check your ego, like you were saying, hanging with the wrong crowd. That can be a double-edged sword because you can use that and use yourself as a vessel in that. Hey, look, y'all, we ain't got to do this. This is stupid. Who we proving this to? What are we proving? You know what I'm saying? And then like you were saying, bro, you got to check that ego at the door. You know, I let it get the best. If I let my anger get the best. Well, people do stupid stuff when they angry. They do dumb stuff when they angry. And you got to think rational because right there is thinking emotional. That's the difference between thinking emotional and then thinking rational. We may think that this is rationally thinking, but this is all based off our emotions right now. I'm pissed off right now. I got to get one up on them. That's emotions. That's not rational thinking. Rational thinking is this: if I do something stupid, I can't hug my kids anymore. I got to look at them through a computer monitor or 6 inches of glass, and all those homies that I was hanging with, they not going to be there at all. So you got to think rational, not emotion.
Definitely. And I do got a question for you to, you know, what are the 3 tips that you would say that people need to follow in order to avoid situations with gun violence?
To avoid the gun violence, avoidance, actually. I mean, you can't, it's as cliche as it sounds, avoidance. I tell a lot of people, if you can avoid the situation, avoid it. No matter what someone said, oh, you went out like a sucker, you went out like a punk. That's cool. I went out. I went home, though. I'm not in handcuffs, you know what I'm saying, 23-hour lockdown, get to get out in 15-minute increments, you know what I'm saying? I'm not in the ground, you know what I'm saying? I'm not facing any charges. So if that's the lifestyle that y'all say, y'all, I want that freedom. Right. So, again, it's just really avoiding it if you can, no matter what. Try your hardest just to avoid it, because at the end of the day, it probably isn't worth it.
Okay, definitely. So I do got a question for the elders in the room now. So we went around to ask the youngins. Let's ask the elders. What is the biggest difference with gun violence in the era of, you know, 90s, early 2000s, 80s versus today? You know what I'm saying? Speaking from experience. Because gun violence existed. It never went away. Guns have been around for hundreds of years. So what's the biggest difference on why it has increased, you know, as opposed to back then? And you could speak as well.
I would say because the kids are actually using the guns. That's going to be the biggest thing. I grew up in the hood. I went to Montbello, MLK. I can't tell you how many guns were actually in the school, but they were never used. They were in there. Trust me, they were in there. But nowadays, these kids are bold. These kids, they see it, and I hate. I don't want to, disrespect them or anything, but I call them TV thugs because they see it on TV and they reenact it. We seen it on TV. It was a movie to us. Nowadays, it's, hey, I gotta portray that. I gotta live that lifestyle. So these kids are actually pressing the trigger nowadays.
Good word.
And also, people back then, people were true to themselves. For example, I grew up playing football, working out, wrestling. I grew around my friends that was in the streets. They were, hey, big bro, check this out. You depressed, only about to get into something. Everybody's not cut out to be out there. But for some reason, you think you're supposed to. So, bottom line is, you're not really about to fight. You don't want to lose. Your easiest way out is to go pull a trigger. And then you pull the trigger facing murder, then you go tell them everybody. Like my man said, your friend's not going to be there. No, he's going to be at your girl's house. If you want to know the truth about it, he's going to be at your girl's house tomorrow. Been working corrections for over 15 years. See it every day. Okay? Be true to who you are. There's a reason why there's a lot of talented people locked up in prison. Because it's like you wanted to be an artist. Your boys did not come over here and carry this pistol. You should have stuck in the studio painting and drawing whatever your thing was. Be true to who you are. Everybody's not supposed to be in the streets.
Definitely.
And like my boy, I have a partner who came and explained to the kids that look at Mountain about the videos you watch. Yeah, after the video, he pulls his pants up. He got a meet to go to. It's not his house. It's not his car. Okay, my partner is the CEO of Sony. I was like, don't believe that. Okay, it's all a show to make you go buy that stuff.
Right.
I think a lot, like, to add on is it accessibility. Like, it's accessible now. When I was younger, it was hard to get a gun. You're getting a little pea shooter, or you're making one. Now I could go call him and him and him, or get on Facebook, and I can get connected with people a lot more. So that access to getting a gun is a lot easier for a youth than when, say, I was younger. That access was a little harder. You'd have to know somebody in the streets a little more.
We were saying that the other day. A couple of my family members, we were talking the exact same point there. We were saying when we was growing up, man, we had a little pea shooter, that noisy cricket off Men in Black, the little, the little guy. Nowadays, these kids got choppers, and I'm like, where did you get this AK from or this AR from? There's no way you bought this in the stores.
Exactly. Can we talk a little bit about that? Like, we got young people here, and just ask them, how easy is it for you to go out and get a gun? How long would it take if you walked downstairs, if you got in the elevator, got outside, how fast could you get a gun?
It'd take me like 4 hours.
That's not a long time.
Just gotta put mom on Snapchat. Metal on the market, right?
Yeah.
Right. Or find money.
What about you, Kiabe?
I don't know.
It would probably just take a day.
Day? Is that the pretty average? If you need a weapon, day, 4 hours. I mean, we're talking about. You're talking about weapons, and I mean, I think the guys were talking about it just a minute ago. Like when we were growing up, first of all, there was such a thing called a 38 special, which was a 38. And that's what the gun of choice was, right? That was the most prevalent gun. But now we're talking about the cheapest guns on the streets right now here in Denver, Colorado are AK-47s and AR-15. And everybody wants one of those. So what is the glamorization of an AK? What makes that the hottest gun? What makes that something that everybody wants to have?
I mean, it is a bigger gun. It does have like more bullets you could put inside of it. You ain't got to worry about like just to keep reloading and reloading. You could just keep letting off. I mean, you buy AK, you think you Mr. Big Bad and Almighty because you have a bigger gun. So I mean, nowadays they're just buying it to make themselves look tougher and to act like they actually really out here scaring people.
So is that mostly what it's about? Little guys or people having weapons that make their bite bigger than their bark?
I mean, it really does start out with the little guys because, if you don't really know how to fight or having been in that situation to defend yourself. I mean, yeah, the little ones, yeah, those will be really the ones that will come and do something about it. I mean, they won't be like us, a little older, and just talk about it all over the net, back and forth through calls, text messages. No, they hear something, they're automatically already on their way to you in literally a seconds. They could just be watching you from outside of just anywhere, your parking lot, somewhere around the corner from your house, anywhere. And then all it takes is that one time, and then it's just boom, guns going off.
So you guys talked a little bit, and I don't mean to take all of it, but you guys talked a little bit about the ease of going out and getting a gun from somebody else. Can you guys tell us about, you know, and you don't have to get too much in depth to it, but can you tell us about 3D printed guns and how is that becoming more of a thing, or is it still, you know, cats who just got a lot of shipments or whatever getting guns in, or young people really making guns out there?
I mean, everybody nowadays, I done seen it slow down on them buying the guns. I done seen, like, a lot of people start making them now. Like, you could start with, like, literally, say, like a BB gun. It could be metal or plastic. With the right materials and everything, you could make it real, and you could really put the bullets inside, and it's just crazy. Because I was watching a video not too long ago on YouTube, and this guy, he built in an actual gun into an airsoft handle. So it was kind of crazy. So I'm like, he's saying he built this from all the way from scratch. And it's crazy how it just even works just like the real deal.
What, anybody else?
What were you talking about again?
So he was asking a variety of questions, but this last one he's talking about, what about 3D printers? And, like, you know, what impact it has on guns today. If y'all have any information on that.
I didn't know nothing about people printing 3D guns, honestly.
Well, but, and also he was talking about, of course, like the access with guns and how easy it is. And speaking on that, because we do got a new guest over here as well, I do want to ask a question, though. So we could talk about it a lot in the black and brown community on how guns affect us all day long. But I do want to ask a question to Ms. Price over here with Moms Demand Action. How does it affect the white community and gun violence today? Because as we can see, just in 2021 alone, there's been over 300 different like massacre shootings that's happened just in 2021 alone. So, like, why is there so many mass shootings that's happening nationally, internationally, and how it's affecting us? But also, like, what's the difference between gun violence in the white communities versus the black communities, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, I think that one of the things you just said, that my particular community as a white woman, a lot of the way that gun violence affects our community is through mass shootings. The other thing that I think we oftentimes see, which I think probably crosses over to several communities, is domestic violence. We see that a lot through my work in Moms Demand Action. And to be totally honest with you, in my community, what we see is white men that are carrying out these mass shootings. And so I think that it might affect our community in maybe some different ways, but it's still the same weapon, and it's still the same trauma. It's still affecting our families in the same way. And so I think that it's so important that we continue to have conversations about the guns, because the guns are really the thing that's happening in both communities. And so I think that it's really important that we continue to listen to each other. Like, I love, like, I'm part of these kind of conversations and panels all the time, hundreds of them all the time, and just listening to each other and listening to what some of the young people are saying about, access to weapons. I mean, you were asking about why is it so different now. I think access is huge, which is what you mentioned earlier. Social media. I teach high school, and I think that social media has really impacted our youth at a much higher level than I think maybe what most adults truly understand, and I just see it because I'm with young people all day, every day. But you know, I think that the access to weapons, the access to, like you were mentioning, like a gun that you don't have to reload and that can, you know, fire more, like that is what we're seeing in my community too with mass shootings, and it's terrifying. And I also think a lot of the theft of guns, we oftentimes see like people are stealing guns from each other, and that's just creating this access is just, I mean, the access has skyrocketed in both communities, and we're seeing it in both communities, so.
Definitely. I appreciate that. And also, I kind of want to finish going around the circle, then we're going to go around one more time. You had a question, if you don't mind giving them the mic.
He said I did.
Yeah, you was the last person who had the joint, man. Oh, you was? Did you ask your question? Okay. Yeah, you got that then.
I'll ask one. How do you educate the illegal stuff? Like, I know you could educate people that buy guns legally, but when you're in the neighborhood, you guys, you know, we're all from the neighborhood. How do you educate them people that, you know, may not be susceptible to say, I need gun knowledge?
It's just that, honestly, and it's no gray areas with me. If it's illegal, I'm gonna let you know, hey, bro, this is not what it is. This is what you could be facing. This is how your life could end. There's gonna be one or two other options. You can either go to jail, you can get hurt, or you can get killed. So if you want to pursue that illegal way, like homie was saying, you can go left or you can go right. You go left, you can always come back right, but it's going to be harder to get back right. So again, I just keep it straightforward with people. I don't sugarcoat it. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, well, if you did this, no, it's straight to the point. You can't do that.
Well, anything else on that, my brother?
I just like feel like that's a heavy thing too. Like, how do you? Like, I was a gang member in the streets before I do the community work, you know, but, like, how would you reach me when I had my gun in the day, you know what I mean? Like, how would you tell? Because I'm not going to listen to, like, going to jail, getting killed. People were preaching that to me since I was, like, 11 years old until I went to jail, you know?
It's living it. I've lived that lifestyle as well. I've been a gang member, you know what I'm saying? I've lived that lifestyle. So I've tasted that lifestyle, and I've tasted what my freedom is like. And my freedom tastes a lot more. And, you know, that's the barbecue on Sundays. You know what I'm saying? You got your links and everything. But this over here, I got a cold bologna sandwich. Cold coffee, you know what I'm saying? And I got to eat when they tell me to eat versus, you know what I'm saying? I've lived both lifestyles. And I always give the example, like my brother, you know what I'm saying? He did 15 years, and he's actually doing 15 now. Like I was saying earlier, none of the friends call. And I'm talking about none of them do. So, I mean, you can either live that life. I mean, I can take you to the water, or I can't make you drink it. It's simple as that. So, and I just live by example. I've lived both lifestyles. I know what both come with. And my freedom is a lot more.
Yeah,
you know
I think I like agree with you. Like, I think that awareness to them younger kids and coming from that background opens some eyes. Like, I did 13 years straight in the penitentiary. You know, I did a carjacking when I was real young. And I was in the gangs, and I was real violent. I spent 9.5 years in isolation because I was a violent man. But to see that change and see, like, maybe stop one of these younger guys saying, man, that road is not the way, man. There's nothing in that life, you know,
It really isn't. I mean, living to me, I mean, I want to pass things on to my kids. And that's what made me start my own company. And I always preach, I got to have something that I can pass on to them. That way, you know what I'm saying, when they get older, they don't have to depend on, you know what I'm saying, like a 9 to 5 or anything. They actually have a company that I've actually molded them into that not only take over, but you need to be able to maintain this company as well. And that takes their focus off of going into the streets. You know what I'm saying? Look, it's fun, you know what I'm saying, for the time being, but it's not fun when you 23-hour lockdown. It ain't fun like that. You know what I'm saying? Someone taking your train, you gotta, you know what I'm saying, hey, man, look, enough is enough. You know, again, that ain't the lifestyle you want to live, I promise you. being able to do what you want, travel the world. You know what I'm saying? You gotta. That's living, seeing the world. Flying to Philly just to get a Philly cheesesteak. You know what I'm saying? Flying to Chicago just to get a deep dish pizza. You know what I'm saying? That's living. You know, seeing those things. Flying to Bora Bora and just swimming in the water. You know what I'm saying? Clear water that you can see the sand in. That's living. In these streets, that's not living. That's just, you know, Kool-Aid, watered down, sugared down, all that. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it's only going to lead to one place. Two, actually. The graveyard or that jail cell.
Oh, you don't want to end up in a wheelchair either.
That
like,
too.
End up in a wheelchair. And
We were just talking about basketball
none
players.
of your homies are going to change that pee bag, you know, that you have. And I have some of my friends that are in wheelchairs for life. And you know how many people go visit them? Or I've lost a lot of brothers in the streets. You know how many people watch out for their kids nowadays?
Right.
And bringing awareness to you guys, the youth, you know, bringing awareness to you guys that there's a better way than picking up a gun.
Not only that, we owe it to our parents. We don't understand like the things that they sacrifice for us. Like me being a parent now, I completely understand it now. Like we owe it to them. Just so, you know what I'm saying, they can get, when they get older and be like, damn, that's my kid right there. I always tell my brother, my younger brother too, because he was going to go down that path as well. And I tell my kids this all the time. Being an OG is dying on your bedside with your generations of kids around you, holding your hand. That's being an OG. Not being in these streets telling you, hey, go hit this lick, they earn your stripes. That's not an OG. That's a dumb person right there. Me being an OG is seeing what I have, you know what I'm saying, bread. This is me right here. I've done all this. They're here because of me at this point. So.
That's beautiful. Definitely. I got a question for everybody, young people, old people. Are you guys afraid of guns? You know what I'm saying? Are we, like, is anyone here afraid of guns?
I'm not afraid of guns. I'm just afraid of people who don't know how to use them. You know, I mean, I'm afraid of scary people. You know, it's a scary man that's going to shoot you. Somebody not afraid, they're going to come man to man and face to face. If a man don't want to face you, he's going to get his gun and then shoot you and then run hide and lose tail. But nah, the gun itself, you can put a gun right there, the gun ain't gonna hurt nobody. The scariest person in the room gonna grab that gun. You know, and it's, like I said, I'm always scared that one around the corner peeking and, you know, whispering. I need you to be the man up. I really do.
Definitely. Anybody else afraid of guns?
It's like when I was an iron worker, I always say, I'm not afraid of the heights, I'm afraid of hitting the ground. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid of the gun, I'm just afraid of that thing hitting me. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the, you know, being afraid of a gun's not really, when you have that gun and you get a different feeling in your life. But when you have them bullets come at you, it's a different feeling too.
Yeah. I always say too, like, to your point, because I know it kind of went where you say, are you afraid of guns? I'm not afraid of the gun, I'm afraid of the person behind it. I also think being afraid of the gun is a plus. Being afraid of that gun is a plus because you're going to take it one step further for the safety. Like, I'm afraid of this. So it ain't that I have that confidence knowing that, oh, I know everything about this gun. I can do this and taking it apart and then accidentally shooting yourself. Versus you being afraid of it, I'm going to proceed with caution at that point. So the gun part, being afraid of it or not afraid of it, that's still a good thing. But the person behind it, I'm afraid of.
Anybody else want to speak on that? So everybody else, I would assume, is not afraid of guns. But going into that, though, does anybody want to be a gun owner, though? Anybody want to be a gun owner? Why not? Why doesn't nobody want to be a gun owner? I said some are. Why'd you become gun owners?
For the sport.
No, I wouldn't have a gun in my life right now. You know, I know that probably there's protection and stuff like that, but it wouldn't be a good choice.
And that's self-discipline. You recognize that. That's self-discipline. And I commend that. If you know deep down, hey, I don't need a gun, and you can discipline yourself to not get one, you have all the respect in the world from me at that point. So.
Why'd you become a gun owner?
For the sport. My nephews had like 5 or 6 of them. More than that, they loved them. They took me to the range, and I fell in love with it. And I keep it over their house. They have a ton of them. But yeah, it was just the sport of it. I get up too late to go hunting, so I'm not gonna do that.
So y'all the only two gun owners in here. Why don't nobody else want to become gun owners, if y'all don't mind me asking? Anybody can speak on this.
We gotta hook that little thing.
Yeah.
For me personally, it's just like that, like fear of like being that guy that's gonna be like remembered as like that gun owner, like the man that pulled the trigger, right? So even though I have held held guns, right? I've never shot them. I never want to be in like the same room as like a mag or anything, right? Because I don't want to be the person that's like responsible for like something that I could have like changed. I don't want to like have that on like my conscience. Like I shot that man. I'm responsible for his life. Like I don't know how that's gonna affect anyone around him, but I'm just like that's something that I don't want to like carry with me like ever.
Okay, what? Well,
I can talk. So, just to introduce myself, I'm Tremaine. I'm a community member. I'm an 8th grade math teacher in Aurora. I was supposed to just stop by and meet Jason, but I got pulled into this little meeting, so I guess I'll talk. To keep it frank, I'm terrified of guns, but at the same time, I have a gun. I'm a gun owner. I've been in a situation where I needed a gun, didn't have a gun, and somebody lost their life. Miss Price she was probably at Overland when this situation occurred. She was my social studies teacher in high school, if you guys didn't know that. And not to age you either, but but yeah,
off camera, we're gonna talk.
I was in a pretty serious situation when I was 16, and it actually changed my life. Again, I'm terrified of guns, but I feel like I'll be in a situation because of past trauma. I feel like I'll be in a situation again to where I need it, but I don't like the fact that I feel like I need to have a gun. I don't tell too many people I have a gun. I don't floss it. My wife hates it. She doesn't want me to have one, but I feel like we need one for protection. And again, I hate that I have to feel this way, but I have one for the protection of me and my family, so.
definitely. Anybody else want to speak on that? I do got a question though, even on that. Why today doesn't it seem like, young people, we ain't afraid of guns. We see people die, you know what I'm saying? We've experienced trauma in our families, friends, all that. Why are we not afraid of guns today? You know what I'm saying?
To be honest, I don't think social media, to Ms. Price's point, I don't think social media was as prevalent as it is today. When we were younger, we didn't really go on to social media and see our friends in shootouts. We heard about it through word of mouth. We didn't see people dying or getting shot like y'all see, like y'all have grown up seeing. So I guess, in my opinion, you guys have become normalized to it. I don't know. I think that's the best way to say this. It's become normalized because they record it and show it so much that it seems like it's an unreal thing. But being in that situation, it definitely changed your perspective. But that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I was gonna piggyback off of that. That's like definitely like something that like I noticed. Like I haven't seen a lot of like gun violence online, but I have definitely seen many people die in just terrible ways. And it's almost to the point where like I kind of just, it's not that I don't care, it's just kind of like expected. So it's like, oh, okay, he died, by being like shot by like electricity, right? Like working on like one of the like tools, right? Yeah, it's sad, but like that happens. And like just as like the brother said, like even though like I feel like that, I haven't ever been put in like a situation where I actually have to like think on like my foot. So it's just easier for me to say like I don't necessarily care when that probably isn't true at all. Because I can't even like look at a mag without getting like uneasy about it. It's like, whoa, this is that's real, that's right there. Like I don't want to be in the same room.
Makes sense.
It's definitely a playing word, like you said, being desensitized. Because it's like, I grew up in an era where, like, gangsters and thugs, like the actual mafia, they didn't want to be seen. They didn't want you to know they was out there controlling the whole neighborhood. It's not the thing. Like, real bad guys moving silent. You know what I mean? We don't want you testifying against us because you can put my face on Facebook. And they become so desensitized to, I think, emotion and feelings, period. No way in the world I could have ever, like I should say, it's the kids in lockup. If I went to your mother right now and slapped the hell out of her, what would you do to me? Shoot me, right? Why do you kill her every day being locked up?
Yeah.
You don't give a damn about her emotions when she in court, getting her child go to jail. You didn't give a damn about her emotions when you was out there shooting a damn gun, knowing that your mother would be at home in tears crying because your ass is locked up. So why do you care about what I do to her? And that was something that I was like, there's no way in hell I could have my mother in court talking about, that's my son. No, no, no. And the fact that I was so scared of her too. But
Everybody was scared of Mom.
yeah, she didn't play. She put this on me. I'm like, no, I'm gonna wash these dishes for like 30 years. Don't care. But yeah, and I think, like you said, they see it so much, and they think it's reality. That you synthesize, like you're not really thinking about how you about to affect everybody in your life right now.
I think it goes. What was your name?
Robert.
Robert. I think it goes back to what Robert was saying earlier about like what can we do to reach like young people who just don't care, like lack apathy, and I feel like we have to like make it real to them in the best ways we can, like make it relate to them on their level, unless they're not gonna see it or put meaning to it. And I deal with it every day, dealing with middle schoolers, getting ready to be high schoolers, and it's just tough. You know, it's not just a job that you're dealing with in the detention centers. You still working at detention centers?
I left Lookout with right now.
Okay. Well, at least what you were used to dealing with is tough. And I feel like we have to do more nowadays than we had to do with us when me and Seth was younger. This guy, he likes to talk like he's an old head, but he's a young guy. I coached him in freshman football. But it's definitely tougher. And I try to relate to the kids as much as possible and make it real to them, because what's real to me is not real to them. They're living a different life than I had to live, so I just try to do my best to get to their level.
I got one question. I don't know if you guys went over this. Is, since there's such a huge fascination with guns, right? And rightfully so. Sometimes these are pretty cool looking things, and especially for you young people. If there was some kind of training, like my man, and I think he hit this on the head when we first started, is that he's been teaching his son about the dangers of guns since he was 5 years old. And his son doesn't play with guns because he understands that it has understood this for a long time. He's 14 now, right?
Yeah, it'd be 14 in July.
So if we offered, or gun training was offered to young people, would that help you more deal with guns in a positive way, or would that accelerate it and make it worse? Because now you're seeing how these things are actually working and firing, and when you have that in your hand, it's a lot of power. And I think part of that is we're not reaching you mentally and letting you understand that there's no coming back from that power, right? There's no coming back from what you do to somebody or what is something that's done to you with that,
regardless
right?
of what side you're on.
So handling guns in that kind of way, where it's not such a taboo thing when we're younger, you think that would make a difference in what's going on right now? Kiave?
No.
Why not?
You go just talking there.
But but I don't think so, because really, it's just gonna make them more experienced on how to use it, make them more motivated to get one. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it also kind of depends on who you're dealing with. Like, I don't know. It just depends on the person really too. Like, some people might say, yeah, this ain't really nothing to play with. It ain't no joke like that. They might start taking it more seriously. But then also they still might get one, like, again, like paperwork and stuff. I mean, it is what it is. Like, I don't really know how to
say
Right.
it like that.
Understand. What about you, Kevin? What do you think? Is gun training gonna make things safer for the community and for you as a young person?
I guess just like you said, it depends on the party because the party can take advantage of the
With the training?
yeah, the training for the weapons, like about actually about instead like when a person don't know the things to like don't know much about the gun, he ain't really gonna wanna touch because he don't know a lot about it. So he's gonna be scared to touch, hold it, or shoot. Then when you know about guns, it's just like you're not scared and you know what's gonna do and how it hurts, like how it affects persons.
Well, let me ask this, because you guys both, and Kiabe, you hit on this, and Kevin, you just said this, is that, you know, in some cases, right, it might accelerate the violent attitude in that kid, right? And you guys know those kids, right? You guys go to school with those kids, you guys are in the same neighborhoods as these kids, and you guys, like I said, you guys know who these kids are. So for us that don't live around these same kids or don't know these kids, what are some of the identifying things that we could see when a kid is struggling with something like this, like with guns? What are some of those things that we you know, us in positions that are here to help? You know, how can we help those kids who are, you know, have a tendency to lean towards violence?
I mean,
How can we identify them and then help them?
I mean, how you could identify them, I mean, they might walk around, you know, just wear a hoodie on, you know, with their face looking down. Sometimes they'll have their hands in their pocket or in their pants, you know. Or it could be like, you can hear them, like, they'll be trying to get in another fight with somebody, go pick a fight or something. I mean, they could go out, go do anything, do damage to other people's properties. Just really often, it's like everything above is how you can identify them. I mean, a lot of kids these days, they are definitely going through some traumas. They have lost amount of loved ones from youth to us now being grown. I mean, even just not family related, even just best friends at that, like, since y'all was kids type mess. I mean, there's a lot of people out here dying.
That's real.
Anybody else want to talk about that? Tay? So I got Coach I. He wanted to call in and ask a question. So he's on. Go ahead, Coach.
I think you answered the question that I sent you. I think I was wondering about the gun training, how the kids felt about that. Then I had another question. If they had any suggestions of how to prevent gun violence. Like, do they have any suggestions on how they could help prevent gun violence? How would they prevent themselves to prevent gun violence?
So I think what Coach is asking is that, you know, we talked about this, you know, for the first part of the summer, and we talked about kickbacks, right? And so how can you guys be at these parties, at these kickbacks, and see things happening and prevent something wrong from going on? Is there any way that you guys could do that, or is it that some of these kids have weapons, you don't want to step in because you're scared to get shot?
I mean, if I'm at a party, somebody starts a fight, I mean, of course I'm going to step in because you never know. There could be little ones passing through outside the building or just nearby anywhere. Anything could easily, one false step could go wrong. Somebody's either a newborn child, 1-year-old kid, 2 to just any age could just be out there laying dead on the ground. And I mean, y'all just rushing out, just thumping all over him. I mean, all because y'all want to pick a fight in a party and somebody pulls a gun.
Okay. Now, and I'm sorry, I'm asking all these questions. So, now, you guys are being affected. Tay, you just got your thing off your leg. You've been shot multiple times. Kevin, you've been hit. And understanding that, right, that, you know, these things could have went a different direction, right? You guys are sitting here with us now, but, You know, in your case, it could have hit an artery, and you wouldn't with us. I mean, you've been shot like you've been in a war zone. You know, and it's not funny, but I mean, this kid is a walking, he's walking wounded. Like, it's a shame, and Kevin too. You know, so I guess what was your mentality, right? Because I'm in you guys' boat. I've been a gun violence victim also, right? That's why I wear glasses. A lot of y'all might not know that. And I got shot in the eye. So, what was your mentality when this happens to you? When this happened to you? When it happened to you? When it happened to you? Was your mentality, I'm about to get that get back, right? Was your crew's mentality, I'm about to get that get back, or were you just focused on getting yourself back to where you wanted to be? Healthy.
I mean, for me,
And be honest.
just like you said, I've been shot like many times. I mean, I was literally on death row. I wasn't too worried about trying to get revenge. I was more worried about trying to get my health back because while I knew my mom or somebody's going to need me, I was just trying to do what was best for me to keep being here and helping my family out.
What about you, Tay?
My younger self, he would have never gave me a fuck what to go do what you gotta do. But now I'm a little older, so I have to think about my life choices. So it made a difference.
Okay. And you said think. You said think. So that's a good point. Kevin, what about you?
Maybe be scared to be around guns, but it made me feel like I need to keep them to stay safe.
Because you didn't want to get shot again.
Yeah.
Right. And you wanted to prevent that. Yeah, that's understandable. See, the thing is, those are understandable emotions because when I got shot, best believe, and I lost sight in my eye. So I was hot, and my friends was hot. And to a certain extent, I couldn't control what was going on from the hospital bed, right? But when I got out and they were still trying to rally up and say, hey, let's go do this. No, man, I'm done. I'm done with that. And you get to a point where, in my case, you know, after I got shot, before that, 2 months before that, my best friend got shot 9 times, 3 in the head, 6 in the body. He dies. Before that was a summer of violence where I lost over 20 friends to gun violence in that summer. And so you get to a point where it's just not worth it anymore and you're tired, right? And I don't see that. And I'm glad I don't see that on y'all because I don't ever want you to have to experience those things. But guns are not the great equalizer that everybody is making them out to be. Because now I hear kids your age saying, you know, when we talked about, somebody made the point is we gonna knuckle up, right? We gonna handle ours, and that's how we used to do it. And you made the point about social media that no, that's not gonna happen these days because of you can get embarrassed when you get knocked out, right? So now I have kids saying, I'm not fighting nobody, I got bullets. And I've had young people say that to me. So how do you guys, as young leaders and young people in the community who want something different, right? How do you effectively talk to those kids and say, we can handle things a different way, let's just give it a chance? And whoever wants to answer that first, go ahead. And here, that's my last question.
Like to show the youth or just like anybody of age, like I said, I've been shot so many times. I was on death row, but I walk around here. I actually do talk to the little kids. I tell them about the importance, what goes on in life. Like I even show them like, y'all see me here every day. I don't need a gun. I still use my hands. And if not, I grab a baseball bat, but I ain't gonna kill you though. That's not where my intentions is. I don't need something coming back to hunt me, and now I gotta live with it for the rest of my life.
Anybody else got anything on that one?
I got something to say about the party. Is what I'm saying is like, really, it wouldn't be nothing at a party if say it's really about who you coming with too. Like you gotta know who you're coming with. You gotta know what type of stuff y'all get into, type stuff. You know what I mean? So, and it's like it's cool. You know what I'm saying? But you can't just you gotta move a certain way. Like you gotta keep your eyes to yourself. Like you know what I'm saying? You can't be talking to everybody. Just do you, have fun, type stuff. And it's like, cause if someone catch you staring at them too long, it's gonna be an issue. That's low key how we start. Like,
Why even go to a party like that?
it's like you wouldn't think it would be like that at all.
Now, every party y'all go to, you know exactly who's gonna be there and what the issues are gonna be. You just name the issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why even go to a party like that?
But that's just how it is in general. Like,
You got some on that?
yeah,
Got a couple of,
I would say it's crazy hearing you just say that because I actually asked a lot of youth that question in particular, why go to parties to not have a good time? And my thing that and this is not a coincidence that my company is called Said Safety. That safety comes before firearm and training there. So it's crazy that you would go to a party looking for that. And we grew up in the era, if you're not making eye contact like this, there's a level of respect that wasn't gained right there. If you're not making eye contact with me, that right there put me on edge at that point. Like, why he, moving his head, not looking at why he trying to hide from me. We grew up in the era when we went to a party, us doing this is not disrespect. You know what I'm saying? You might got a shirt on that I like. Like, where you get that shirt from? You know what I'm saying? Or is it, hey, put the cardboard down there. Yeah, we was pop locking. It was the same thing. We was pop locking though. But no, that's real. Where if you going to a party, I'm coming to have a good time. I'm not coming to look for a bad situation. If that's the case, I'm gonna just stay home at that point. If I gotta take the chance of me defending my life or I may lose my life, I'm not going. That doesn't sound like a good time to me. They're gonna be there, so we need to get there. Nah, bro, that don't sound like a good time at all. It actually sounds like it's gonna end bad. It's gonna end with Christmas lights, probably with handcuffs too at that point. So why put yourself in that situation?
You had something to say too. I seen you.
I'm just thinking, man, because the situation I was in was traumatic, and just listening to y'all talk about parties. My situation stemmed from a party. It was, and I've never really publicly told this story, but I'm gonna get into it a little bit. So, sorry for talking. But it was actually the day of the high school state championship football game. Mullen played Columbine, and my cousin played for Mullen at the time. And I wanted to go to the game, and the only way I can go to the game was to go with my uncle. And I used to bang blood back in the day, and I was dripped out in red. He was like, bro, you're not coming with me to the game with all that red on. I'm like, man, being tough with you. This is what, doing that stuff y'all do. So he's like, he stood there, looked at me, he said, bro, you're going to go in there and change or you're not coming with me to the game. So I'm like, all right, I'll go change. So I changed, we went to the game happened. We got up with some people after the game, and there was a Sweet 16 party going on. That was one of the homegirls from Overland, but her people were blue raggers. I knew that. My homie didn't know that, but he had came with some girls, and I was leaving the party, and I seen him come in, and he had his flag out, and I'm like, bro, this ain't the party for you to have your flag out. Put your flag up. We can go in here. I'll go in here with you, make sure everything good, and I'm out to balance because I had somebody else's car. My grandma told me I wasn't supposed to be there anyway, so I had to go. So, but I did want my homie to go into the party by himself. I wanted to let him know what the scene was like, so I let him know immediately when we got into the party, bro. And I'm sure some of y'all know how it is. They start hitting us up, looking at us, whispering. And I'm starting to get a little feeling. So I'm like, bro, come on, let's just go. We got these girls with us. We don't need to be here. Let's just shake. So as we shaking, people do what they do. We got into a situation. And I'm telling you, I've never been into a gun battle or gun fight. So when the shit started, I'm thinking it's fireworks going off. I'm like, it's December. He's out here popping fireworks. And I look to my left and they just letting off on us, so I duck. And then I look up and my homie, he hit and he leaning. And that day changed my life forever. I didn't get hit. So y'all sitting here talking about y'all got shot, laughing at it, and I'm sitting here, my homie in the box, dead, his family still suffering. Sister still suffering because he ain't here. And I didn't get hit. And what made me want to change that day, when I say the next day I went to school and gave my flag up, the next day I went to school and gave my assistant principal my flag. Joined student council, joined everything I could to get my mind off of gangbanging, bro.
Let me ask the younger person. Let me ask the younger self. Your younger self question. When you stop from going to the party?
You said, why didn't I stop from going?
The reason why I ask this question, because people like, that's my homie. I took a bullet for him. I killed for him. Why didn't you just save him?
So I didn't even know so we didn't go to the party together.
Right. When you see him walking in, you told him.
I told him
do that.
I put your flag up. You know, I'm not just gonna let a person walk into a situation and just be blindsided.
Like 15, 16 or something.
16.
Yeah, I'm talking to the 16-year-old.
Yeah, and I let them know, hey, put your flag up. We can go in here. We can get on whoever we get on, but if they see your flag, they're gonna be pressing us, bro. So some people don't listen, so he kept his flag out. And when we went in there, they immediately started pressing.
Some people listen thing, everybody was talking about, I took a bullet for my homie, or I killed somebody with my homie. Keep your homie alive.
I think
I would whoop my homie's ass.
I think it's, and again, this is two generations talking to.
No, I'm talking 16-year-old you.
I think it's easier said than done, right? So you're 16. I'm 16. I'm at a party. I'm not supposed to be at the party.
Okay.
I have a girl's car, who I'm not supposed to have her car. I see my friend, who I know he bangs the same gang I bang. I know the people inside the party don't bang what we bang, and I'm just not gonna let him go into that situation alone. So me being me, I'm gonna stop. And we gonna go in there together. I'm gonna make sure he cool. And if I feel like the scene was what it was, we was about to leave. They didn't let us go. That's part of gangbanging. I didn't sign up for that. When I knew that was a part, I hopped out.
That was the part that you confused me about my little gangbangers at Lookout. When you know that's part of gangbanging, but I thought you said you loved him, meaning their homie. But you didn't go in and shot.
But when you're in that life, it's so fast, you don't have no time to think of, man, I want to save my homie. You don't have that. He didn't have that. Like, I'm not saying for him, but
so I was
in my incident, sometimes I didn't have that moment to say, hey, homie, let's go. Or let me think ahead. It was just, we're gone.
I was naive.
You in the street, you're supposed to think ahead.
But okay. So, and I hate to take up the conversation with adult talk, but now we're getting into the meat of it, right? Because should I have been there? No. At 16, I'm not gonna let my friend go into a party. I'm sure these young men would attest. I'm not gonna let my friend go into a party, knowing that if I leave him by himself, something's gonna go off.
So taking him with you, or not letting him go, period, didn't cross anybody's mind?
But we don't go to parties, at least me. Again, I was naive. So when I joined gangbanging, I didn't think that, okay, I need to watch and be like aware of everywhere I go. I joined it because I thought it was cool. I thought I was gonna get more friends. I'm telling you, I was a typical.
I want your 16-year-old mom.
I was a typical wannabe gang member who was out there, who had friends on both sides of the fence, who thought I could be from one hood and still congregate and mess with the people from the other side, and that it just wasn't. It wasn't that. So, me going into that party, I was okay. My friend going into that party with his flag out was a different story. So I felt like me being with him,
You thought you could show him how to do it.
And not even showing, just, okay, if he's with me, then people ain't going to be as quick to press him about what he's wearing. But I was wrong.
Okay.
My naive turned that situation to what it was.
Yeah, you thought since you was cool with cats, they thought they was going to be cool, period. Colors or not.
Protection through association. I thought.
Yeah.
But
I was trying to get the mindset.
And again, I didn't get hit. He got hit. He lost his life. But what made me want to change was the effects that it had on his family. I didn't want to see my family go through what his family went through and is still going through.
No doubt.
And that's what I try to get young people to see. It's like, yeah, y'all out here banging, doing what you do. But, bro, when you lay down in that box,
it's real.
Everybody else is sitting here crying, trying to figure out how we going to pay for the funeral. If my sister have kids, what man is gonna be in my kids or my sister's kids' life? If my sister's boyfriend is, it's a lot, bro, that y'all don't think about. And my job as an older gentleman who's been through some of this shit is to help y'all realize that what you're doing has no future to it. There's a glass ceiling to everything that you're thinking about right now. Whether you think you're the hardest person out there or not, there's somebody out there who's gonna press you, and there's somebody out there who's gonna knock you off of whatever you're doing, and that's just from experience. And it's personally happened to me. I don't know what Seth can talk about, Rob can talk about, Roland can talk about, Elijah can talk about, but it's life, man. And I'm not gonna talk no more, my bad.
Nah, you good, man. Nah, you good. So I do got a question though for the youngins, man. Hearing all these adults speak about their experiences and all that, what do you think is the biggest difference today versus even like 10 years ago? You know what I'm saying? What's the difference between today's generation of gangbang gun violence versus, 10, 15 years, 20, 30 years ago? What's the difference? What would you say cannot, y'all can't, feel where they're coming from? Because everybody feel like they're going to be different through generations.
I mean, back then, a lot of what I was hearing saying, back then, a lot of people, we was definitely putting the guns down and really about the hands. If we didn't want to catch the hands, we'll put the gloves on or just anything. But nowadays, you go to a party, they're asking you what set you're from. Now they're asking you, do you have any weapons on you? Do you have a gun, a knife, anything? You got to pat it down before you go in.
Putting those labels on you.
It's crazy. And it's sometimes not even just a house party. It could be somebody's birthday. They get a hotel, anything.
You do it at the mall, you say?
Hey.
At the mall, yeah. Some of them.
Some kids be getting down nowadays.
These days, let's put it like this. The new generation ain't nothing like the old generation. These little kids, way too quickly to snap off from somebody. Way too quickly. And I mean,
Because they're scared.
They see us, they see how big we are versus them. And they're like down here. So right now they're thinking in their mind like,
what age range you talking about? Like,
I mean, age range, I mean, because I done met a lot of little kids. I mean, I done met a kid that was only 7 years old with his first gun. And his dad gave him the money to buy it. And that what blew me.
You said 7?
7 years old.
Yeah, that starts with the parents. Honestly, I'm gonna be. There's no other way of putting it. That starts with the parents. My son is 14. He does not have his own gun. Everything that I got in my house is locked up. You cannot get to it at all unless I give you the key, which I don't give anybody the key to my gun lockers because I know what's that room down there is capable of. I know if someone gets in this room, they go, bro, this is like Call of Duty when I'm re-upping. You know what I'm saying? Because I have a bunch of weapons down there, but that starts with the parents. There's no way a kid should have access to a gun unless you're with your parents or you're actually with a firearm instructor and they're teaching you about these things there.
Yeah, but the difference between gangbanging now and then is like before it started out as like a struggle thing, like more of a struggle thing. And now it's just like the youngest wanting to be something or like, you know what I mean?
It's the thing to do. Like when we was growing up, like do y'all know what Crips and Blood actually where that came about from? Yeah, that was to patrol the neighborhoods and protect our neighborhoods. When
Roland was growing up.
Yeah, well when Roland was, you hear me? Hey, he said they aging him now. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, community resource and progress.
You hear me? Yeah.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? That's where now it's just something to do. Back then it was you had to do that to actually keep us safe in these streets. Now it's just, hey, like you just said, what set you claim? There's sets that I hear, I'm like, bro, is that a real set? Like, when did this come about? So, but
it do be feeling like people just be making this up during school, real talk sometimes. Somebody says, like, bro, what? That's funny, but I know you got more to say, though.
Yeah, everybody making up their own set. Like, yeah, it's kind of weird to me because it's like, it don't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. But It's just like, yeah, it's different. Like, I see youngins just like really start living that life because I guess people just start thinking like they really want to be that life. It's just crazy. Like, they don't really know how real it is. They don't know what's the real consequences. Some of them do, but then they just don't care.
That's another thing. They just don't care.
Why don't they care?
Man, I don't know. It's just all about how it makes you look, really.
I also say it's like that. It was a meme that went around. That's what started that bruh meme. Remember that dude that got in the court?
Yeah.
And they went to telling him what he was, you know what I'm saying? And then it all of a sudden just punched him right in his face. He was just, bruh. He's like, you got 10 years on this, 10 years on this, 8 years on this, 15 on this. And he just started looking around like, I'm getting all. He learned his lesson by hearing the time. So to them, it doesn't kick in until they're actually, all right, look, brother, once that gate come by and it's shut, they ain't no open that gate until they open it for you. And that's when it becomes real to them. Like, before, it was just something to do. Like, you know what I'm saying? Let me earn my stripes. Let me earn my colors, which is dumb as hell.
And nowadays, they don't go down by themselves.
They don't. They
tell
don't.
them everything.
They do not.
They tell us still ain't even happened yet.
They ain't even got to tell. Facebook tells them.
They tell them about something like, real daddy. It's real.
They make noodles on Friday at 7 o'clock.
Hey, but it be the number ones that ain't trying to snitch though. That's real.
What?
The number one people be like, nah, we ain't about no snitching. Everybody's about snitching in the hood.
Videotapes. Videotape, you right? I seen the videotape.
Everybody's about snitching in the hood, yo.
You see how it kind of becomes a trend, though? Like, it kind of becomes a trend. Like it kind of becomes a trend because then it puts everybody in that mindset where it's like, I ain't a snitch, I'm not this and that, I won't snitch, this and that. And then as soon as they get into the situation, they snitch.
No,
them years hit you.
It was just like I was about to say.
Let me get a number 5.
You know what I'm saying? They be hard as hell until that judge come in there and say, hey, you facing this. Well, little Tyrone and little Pistol Starter, they was there. You know what I'm saying? His blood type is, you know what I'm saying? They get to see it.
It's not even only the guys either though. It's the females too.
All of it.
That's called pillow talk.
Yeah.
Quit telling your business. You can't repeat it.
That is pillow talk.
Yeah.
That is pillow talk.
Not even gonna lie. So when we was growing up, women didn't get involved with the gang activities because we kept them out of it because we knew. You get pressed, they was, hey, no,
it's emotionally driven.
Hey, it's emotionally driven. I got how much? 20 years for him?
That's the double whammy. You don't want that.
You know, it's crazy.
Hey, you might commit suicide after that one, bro.
And she left you.
Yeah.
No.
What's crazy when I was growing up, we wouldn't stereotype like the neighborhood. Like if an old lady told on the case, she wasn't a snitch. You know what I mean? She was someone looking out for her community. She wasn't involved in the crime, so I understood that she gonna tell on me.
Yeah.
I understood that she was gonna say something, but with the stigma out there and that I don't know, it's like a fear thing where they say, oh, I don't want to be a snitch. But when they hit you with them digits, you gonna tell.
Especially if it's double digits.
But are you gonna tell if you know there's a guy in that party with a gun and he kills your homie before he kills your homie? Because then that body's on you because you knew that gun was there and you didn't say nothing, and now your homie's hands is in your blood's on your hands.
I wanted to say something real fast.
If you claiming to live a certain way, like if you claiming to live in the streets, you claiming to do all that, and you still in the way and all this, and you tell, then that's when you a snitch.
Yeah.
Because that's what you living by. You living by the code. That's the code.
That's what I said.
But if you just a youngin', you know what I'm saying, taking care of business, doing what you doing, and you get into something, and you tell, it's not snitching because you still doing what you need to be doing. You do what you still got your own vision. You know what I'm saying? Whoever you hanging with just in the way.
I wanted to give him an opportunity to talk real fast. He raised his hands up a couple of times. Did you have something to say?
Oh man, you already like hit it on like it's head, I guess.
I'll get a bit.
I was just gonna say it's different now because of like we have like different examples. So it's like popularized to like, you know, like snitching, we could like be fast and like act like that. Like that wasn't necessarily the case for like the older people's like generation.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to emphasize too, we're talking about the idea of snitching, and I don't necessarily mean like to change up the flow of the conversation, but I think if a kid is already at the point where like is forced to like snitch or per se like be in an interrogation room, it's too late. I think if a kid is like already like holding a gun at the age of 7, it's too late. I feel like one of the big things that we like miss out on young people is the guidance aspect of it, because it's like when you start hitting those years, of course, like you better self-preservation, that's human nature. But at the end of the day, it's why are we letting like young people be in those situations? For example, like we talk about even by school, we talk about these conversations. I think a lot of times there's a lot of smart people in prison. And
A bunch of smart people.
I do like in DC. I just graduated from Howard University. I got 8 people to feed 800 people, and
Congratulations.
thank you, man.
That needs to be,
Congratulations.
you know what I'm saying, before you even continue, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
First of all, we don't graduate from colleges in our community. And secondly, you went to a prestigious HBCU and you finished. And you did so in style with honor and everything. So we, just let me say how proud I am of you and everything that you do. And, just watching you this past year, we're in good hands with young people like you.
Thank you.
Right?
So it was like, we fed 800. We fed 800 people, right?
You definitely get degrees.
We fed 800 people, and but like we're feeding people, and it's like grown men. Some of them, like the other person I was working with, he's also an Omega man, but he fed over 200,000 people the year before in the pandemic, and he's talking about he fed people with like PhDs on top of PhDs, where it's like it's not necessarily about how smart you are. It's not necessarily about like how tough you are. It's a lot of times it comes down to your mentors. It comes down to your circle, and it comes down to who's actually guiding you. Because my little brother, for example, I got home and he had a 2.4 GPA. That's not cool whatsoever. Like I had a conversation with him, and like that damn near almost fought my little brother, but he turned in 25 assignments within the span of like 2 days, because it comes down to the idea of who's pushing you and who's there for you. For example, like even as we have this conversation, I don't know what grades you guys are in. What grade are you in, brother?
Me, I am going into my sophomore year.
Sophomore year. What's your name, by the way, again? Kiave. What's your name, brother?
Kiave.
You guys have the same name? What's your name? Tay. What's your name? Kevin. See, my name is Peter, and I asked that question because even like as young people right now, you guys are like, true. That's fine, but I'll just say we're having this conversation. But like even now, it's like I want you to ask yourself, like after you graduate from high school, right? What are you doing? You feel me? Like as you're sitting here and we're having this conversation about how like, oh, these kids are bad as hell now. You guys are kids yourselves, if we're being honest. Like, oh, these kids like don't necessarily have the guidance. Like you guys talking about the mall, like Nathaniel Poindexter got shot at the mall, like in JCPenney, and like Devari Armstrong once again, like despite having the mentors and like the life, like the people around him, still got killed like a party and everything. But so it's a lot of time it's like, yeah, life happens and like a lot of like crazy stuff happens. But I want you to ask yourself, you guys sit right here, please reflect on like, what are you doing right now? Like how your grades looking like? What are your mentors looking like? Yeah, you can volunteer and everything, but like sometimes volunteering can only take you so far, if that makes sense. Like being around mentors can only take you so far. It comes down to like having that personal discipline and saying, I want to be great and I want to be better. Like, so like even I want you to like leave here and think about your GPA for real. Like having a 2.8 GPA, you get like a scholarship from the Denver Foundation, if I'm not necessarily mistaken. So if you have anything less, you're passing up damn near like on thousands of dollars to go to school. Like we're talking about even like if your parents don't make a lot of money, you can still go like to a community college and get your associate degree, and just from doing the FAFSA alone. And so you got to ask yourself, what are you doing over and over and over and over again to like achieve your end goal? And while it's important, like we have this conversation about like snitching, about telling time about like how parties are looking like make sure that like you're not necessarily put it like a lot of time we waste a lot of time just talking. If anything, my little brother can like argue like Black Lives Matter from front and back and everything about like why it's good, why it's bad. But like at the end of the day, you're gonna be like 25 years old arguing about Black Lives Matter and not necessarily have like a foundation for your kids, for yourself, still like arguing about Black Lives Matter. It's really like important that you really like check your priorities. Check about where you are right now, how you're sitting down, and it's like There's a lot of smart people in prison. There's a lot of smart people homeless. And you guys are a bunch of smart kids. You guys are my peers, I want to say. And as my peers, I'm saying, like, take the time to really, like, check yourself for real, because it's Ice Cube says you better check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? And a lot of time everybody is quick to check somebody else and quick to say, yo, these kids aren't good, these kids are terrible, these kids are, like, carrying guns, these kids are doing this. But, like, are you a mentor for these kids? You feel me?
What are you doing for them?
All right, I had a question, and we're running real close on time, so I don't think this was discussed. So when we hear about drive-by shootings in our community, what do you feel like when you hear about mass shootings?
Oh, let me take that one. Only reason I want to take this one is because I do the statistics. This is what I do. I do gun safety classes. Colorado is #1 for mass shootings.
Mass shooting capital of the world.
Mass shoot. So when I was growing up, it was just a thought. I seen it on TV. Oh yeah, nowadays it is a reality. Like, it can happen in this day and age. And my thought process behind it is and this is why I teach that personal plan, that personal protection plan. And then when you're out and about, like bro said, he had a situational awareness moment. He felt it. Nah, bro, let's not go in there. Put that flag down. That was him telling himself, hey, look, I got to be aware of this situation. Before you walk in there, you need to be aware of what's going on in there. And that is why I preach that, because mass shootings happen daily here. Imagine, you cooking, forgot I ain't got no butter. You go to King Soopers to get some butter and you never come back out of there. Never come back out of there. So, and this is why I preach that plan. You got to have a plan in place. Michael Jordan didn't become the greatest basketball player. Kobe didn't become the greatest basketball player. Whoever we think the greatest basketball player is, Larry Bird didn't become the best shooter in the world, you know what I'm saying? By not practicing and being prepared. So that is why with these mass shootings or even going to parties, you guys got to be prepared for things like that. You have to be prepared for things like that. And I do want to leave y'all with something, because one thing you said earlier, and it actually touched me a little bit. Pause. But he said, be yourself. There is nothing wrong with being yourself.
And then another thing, you'll realize, like, nobody's really hard. Like,
nobody.
If you see that,
you gotta hear me. Hey, I got OGs that I used to call OGs. Like the older cats graduated 9'9", 9'8", 9'7", that come to me and bro, I look up to you. How? You doing something positive for the community. You're teaching this. You're making this aware. You're working with Aurora Police Department, Denver Police Department to build that relationship with the youth and with the community there. So that is why. And I looked at it like, damn, I didn't even realize the position that I was in, that people actually look up. No matter what your situation is, like homie said, you need to really do some soul searching at this point. Because you said 18, how are we?
They're sophomores.
So, man.
Yeah, so like.
Man, listen. Listen. About to be a sin. Life is finna hit you. It is definitely finna hit you. So you got to do some stuff. What do you see yourself doing in 5 years from now? Do you want to be running your own company, making your own hours? 'Cause I'm going to be honest with you, ain't nothing like working for yourself. It's self-discipline, because you got to get up and work harder than you ever work, but there's nothing like working for yourself. Being able to pass down generational wealth.
And I was going to say we're fast before.
I was going to say, just to correct myself, I didn't mean to say sophomore. I meant to say senior. I'm actually about to graduate.
Perfect.
I'm one class away from it, too.
I'm snapping for you and everything, but like I think one thing that we also like sell this idea of like ambition and high aspirations and like you run your own business and like be your own man and like facilitate that. Like when in order to become a nonprofit, you have to do paperwork. In order to apply for grants, you have to do paperwork. In order to in order to have people, you have to know how to do paperwork. And so it's being talking about like I have great ideas and necessarily good enough a lot of the times. It's like sometimes you really have to like make sure once again it's that plan, how you educating yourself, because there's a lot I'm at a park in DC. I'm playing kids with playing basketball with some kids, right? Being we're dribbling, like we're having fun. They're like about to go into high school, and this woman, she's like bigger woman. She's like literally half naked. She's homeless and everything. Kids are making fun of her, and they're talking about like she's making these sounds at the park, just like like you can tell like there's something not necessarily cool with her, like mentally and everything. But so for me, it's like I have like all this empathy. So I walk over to her and I'm like, "What's your name and everything? Like, where are you from?" She's like, "My parents kicked me out when I was 14. I don't. Yeah, like, but you know what she tells me? I'm about to go to Howard University." And I'm thinking about like, you got to go to Howard University, and like I'm looking at like she's naked first of all in the park. She doesn't necessarily have a place to live, and somebody she wants to go to Howard University. And I think I look at that moment, it's like ambition has no limits, if that makes sense. Like goals have no limits. What limits us is the discipline and like hard work that we're willing to put in. And a lot of time we don't necessarily put ourselves in the right situation because even like let's say I interned in Michael Bennett's office on Capitol Hill, right? Like I had applied like crazy. I had like 30 different people like read my application in order for me to get the internship. But there was kids out there like their parents were millionaires, so like all they had to do was make a phone call and they were in the office. Like I'm from Montbello, you feel me? I'm a first generation, like I'm an immigrant and everything. And with that being said, it's like people like us don't necessarily get opportunities like that to be like, oh, I'm gonna run my own business when I'm like 25, unless like we really like look out for ourselves and work really hard. Ambition a lot of times doesn't cut it unless we have the discipline and hard work to do it. That's pretty much.
Stop Peter there because this team got to go. But let me stop Peter there about and make this point. And he just made a great point that sometimes when we come from we don't think we can do these things, right? And y'all looking at Peter is like, well, this dude may not have the same kind of issues or the same kind of background that I have. There's another kid named Sam who I guarantee has the same issues, the same background as y'all. He did 8 months straight for aggravated robbery and assault. I was looking at 20 years. The day he got out of jail is the day he got in my program. And now that kid is doing great things. He's an intern in Senator Michael. He just finished that internship and he's on doing his own thing. So you could be him. You could be him. You could be him. You could be him. You know what I'm saying? It's just not about just dealing with your circumstances. You know what I'm saying? Because I was one of y'all too.
Yeah, I was just about to say don't let and lean on older men in your community, right? Because don't let, just like Peter is saying, like we are here for mentoring, but don't let what we do for you, especially when you see older men out in the community really trying to do this work. Because Sed's from Montbello, we're in Montbello, Peter's from Montbello, I'm from Montbello, Jason's from the street. It's like there's so many people from the street that's really trying to do positive work and get y'all to understand the stuff that you're doing has like no real effects long term. That's really trying to do this work. So just listen to them, man. Don't just y'all are quick. Teenagers are quick to blow people off. I know it because I used to do it and I still deal with it as a teacher. Stop blowing us off. We live that life. Just because we don't show it to you or sag our pants or talk in the slang that y'all talk or do what y'all do, don't mean we ain't. We've been turned up before too, bro.
We down. We've been down.
I like the fact that y'all brought that up because about like a couple years ago, I was going to school. This is around time actually Jason met me, and he had saw I was coming into my school, pants sagging. I mean, I had my flag. I mean, and I'll just go in there and walk out and not come back at all. I mean, the only reason why I want to get to where I'm at to this day, right now, where I'm at now, is because he's the one who inspired me to want to get a job. He showed me the things that was like low-key was really cool, making ice cream, t-shirts, going downtown and sell them, making your own little money on top of giving a little profit back, but whatever is extra, you can keep in your pocket. Like, that's what motivated me to really want to get a job and really start working.
And I appreciate that. And that's why sometimes when I just be like, when you fall back and I be like, nah, yeah, I mean, you can, we're not going to accept that. And sometimes you accept those things for yourself. And so I think that's part of it too. And Chef Buddha, you understand that because you work with these kids is that, you get in a certain mindset from just being drilled upon every day that you're not good enough. Mm-hmm. And it might not be coming from your family, but it's coming from somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's coming from somewhere. As a people, we're not good enough, we're not this, we're not that, and we start to believe those things, right? And so when we go through life, and when we hear about these kids who are, who said that? They out here living that life. Who said that? I think you said that. These kids have said, hey, I'm living that life. because we haven't really shown them that they can live a different life. Because there's such a thing as generational traumas.
I mean, it took more than just Jason.
It
took like he was just here.
There's
Bo,
a lot of
Roman,
people, right? There's a lot of people that
like
poured into him, but that's what we pour into all these kids. And so when you guys get to a certain level, then we need you to pour into somebody too. So understand that, and understand that your future is what you make your future. And y'all are sitting out here, right? But you know, I got 13-year-olds that's looking at 50 and 60 years in different facilities. And so when I say that, you know, people in your generation, we gotta teach them better on thinking, because right, you're doing the result of a 10 or 20 second action is costing you 40 or 50 years of your life.
It's not even 10 seconds. It's 3 to 5 seconds.
Right, and it's not. You see the ratio, the scale? 3 to 5 seconds.
3 to 5 seconds.
3 to 5
the
seconds.
rest of your life.
60 years. 13 years old. Never gonna have a woman. Never gonna drive a car. Never gonna do any of those things. You're gonna probably die in jail. And so also, I tell these kids, you're gonna have to turn yourself into somebody that you don't recognize to be able to survive where you're going, right?
That's funny you say that. I look at a picture that would be 10 years ago, and you already know it beat up. Red rag on the forehead, red rag on the wrist, red rag on the ankles, beat up red dickies. And I look at it like, bro, that is not me.
And it's like, what was I thinking about? Like, the world is so much bigger than what we see, right? Because we don't necessarily get the opportunity to go out and see the world. But as I tell you every day, use your smartphone. Travel the world on your smartphone until you got the money to do where you want to go. Because if you pick somewhere every day, Google a different place every day, because one day you're going to see something that you really want to see, and you're going to go do it. And if you do it, you're going to have a job, you're going to have a passport, so you ain't going to be in trouble. So you're already going to make yourself a success just by having a simple goal. And so we got to understand those things, right?
Also, like, the quickest way to escape from, like, all our, like, opportunities, we're not all the same or anything, but like one of the best ways to, like, for upward mobility, to leave your community or like to make more money like than your parents is honestly like getting an education or going to college, or like even CCA. Like, most people, if you like graduate from high school and you don't necessarily like leave afterwards, you're bound, like a lot of time you're bound to stay in the community that you like live in, unless you say I'm gonna be different and move. But if you're thinking about like one day, once again, ambitions have no limits. It's just a discipline and like our resources. And so, like, if you're really thinking about like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, literally like start creating a plan like that builds you there. And like we talk about Jason and Sam, right? One of the things that like that's special about the relationship is Sam talks about how Jason would like pick him up in the morning and spend the whole day with him darn near, and then drop him off the next day, would come up and pick him up. But a lot of times other young people don't have those, like, that resource.
Decided Sam was not. I wasn't gonna let Sam fall back.
You feel me?
Sam was bad,
and that's incredible.
I had to drop him off at 10 and make sure he was tired. Yeah. And then I picked him up right at 8 in the morning.
You see that like that. It's like, damn, you want to call it policing in a sense, but like that's incredible, that like mentorship and investment in young people. And like I ask you guys, find somebody that's willing to invest in you like that, because there are people out there, and listen to them, because while it's a lot of times it's like I'm my own man, I'm about to build my own path, I'm about to do this because I'm just really that dog. But like, for example, for me, one of my biggest goals was like potentially, like, let's say I went around for office one day, and now I'm looking at everybody who that's like holding an office, elected official, and saying, okay, bet I see what you're doing, and can I job shadow you? Can I hang out the day with you? Like, he's running for school board in Aurora. That's really interesting. So like, how can I like learn from that? You feel me? Like, be intentional about that, please. Like, believe in yourself, because a lot of time, once again, like, people like us aren't necessarily getting opportunities thrown at us unless like we're dogs about it and go get it. And you guys are brilliant. You guys are brilliant, man. Get it.
So we're gonna shut this down. So I definitely want to thank Sid, Elijah, the young activist from UDIA. This is my dude, man. Man, I love him when he comes up here, man. He's learning so much, but we learn a lot from you too, man. Man. I mean, it's just a joy to be around. Peter, you too. and all y'all are. You know what I'm saying? So, as we talked about Sam and pouring into Sam, I pour into all y'all. Whatever you need, Kiabe, I give you a hard time because both of these dudes' name is Kiabe. You know what I'm saying? I give you a hard time, but this kid, you talk about dedication, passion, and drive. This Kiabe with the hood, please. I mean, he's here every day, consistently, and all y'all trying to do something better, and it's about that. And I want to thank Jessica from Moms Demand Action. We have literature and gun locks from Moms Demand Action we talked about if y'all had or knew people who had guns that were little people in the house, get these to them, right? Get these to them, and also understand before we wrap this, understand that Jessica doesn't look like us, right? Her community is about mass shootings, and our community is more about drive-by shootings. But those both have connections to each other. There was a mathematician in 2,000 years ago, and I say this all the time. His name was Euclid, and his first theory was things that are equal to the same thing are equal to each other. And so our community and their community are both suffering gun violence, and we're losing people that we shouldn't. Our friends, families, loved ones. And so when we connect gun violence with their community and we connect gun violence to our community, that makes us equal. Period. Because we're losing the same thing at the same time when we shouldn't. And the same weapons. And it's usually people who shouldn't have them. So we have to start working with them and people outside of our community to make our community better. Because if we can help them make their community better, it's gonna make ours better too. Because we're affected by this gun issue. And so working together is a big thing. So coming in the coming days, we're gonna have some stuff going on where we would love for y'all to get involved. So, like I said, thanks for coming, Chef Buddha, Jeff, Peter, Sid, Kevin, Tay, the Kiabes, you know what I'm saying? My guy right here.
The Kiabe.
Just to throw it out there.
I appreciate y'all being here and staying over. And thank you for having this. Thank you, our network, for running this.
Yeah.
If you ever, need any community TV or anything, graphics or anything, hit these people up. They're excellent. They do a great job. They have multiple sets in their facility, and they take things real serious. And this is, the closest to, a serious production company as we have in our community. And they do a great job. So thank you, our network, for reaching out. Thank you, everybody that was watching. Everybody's listening and understand that, it's going to take all of us here to stop what's going on, right? And we have to do that because, I'm tired of waking up to 13-year-olds who are going to jail or dead. And I can't do it anymore. I can't. I'm tired. I know Buddha's tired, and I know Sid is tired. And understand that if you're on a certain path, you can be different. You can jump off that path and do something different. Because it happened to me, it happened to him, Tux, Damo. So, just because you're living a life right now don't mean your life can't be different. It's what you make it.
And if I could just say one more thing, Mr. Jason, is don't be scared. Don't be afraid.
Don't be scared.
Don't be afraid. Sorry. Don't be afraid to
Be different.
Be different and be uncomfortable. Yes. Right? Because I feel like as a man, I grew the most when I was in my most uncomfortable positions. And that's when you're gonna grow, when you're uncomfortable. When you're comfortable, you tend to do what you do.
If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough.
Right.
If you're not uncomfortable, that means you're not growing. So take those two. If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. And if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing enough.
The 4 main things that I heard from today is surround yourself with the right people, right? Give yourself a chance to be successful. There's an old saying that if you want to be a millionaire, the best way to be a millionaire is hang around millionaires, right? Because they will teach you what you need to know.
But if you can't save your money, you're not going to get
it. Number 2, tell somebody you love them.
Period.
And get that love back.
Your bro, though.
Yeah,
right.
Your bro.
But
tell your
good.
bro.
Right. Your mom. Your dad. Somebody that takes care of you. You tell them you love them. Right? 3, you got to be a self-motivator.
Period.
You got to wake up every day and I say, I want something different. And I want the best for what's good for me and what I deserve. Right?
Hey, I did that this morning.
You did. You're doing it more.
Hey, I was up here at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, he was. 6 o'clock. Waiting for everybody. I wasn't up here at 6, but he was here. So, and 4, don't be afraid to achieve. Right? Don't be scared to go out and get it. Because it's out there.
It definitely is.
Right? So let's all go get it. We can get it together. let's just work to do it. All right.
Been
Thanks everybody for this. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate it.
We're gonna do more of these, and then we really appreciate you guys coming. So grab some of this literature, some of these.
Yes,
gun
sir.
boxes.
FYI, we
Thank
love
you.
you, coach.